nations of the world. I welcome you to this live broadcast. Today, a very cool and rainy day. Today, the 27th of August, 2022. Of course, the day of our fundraising also for the security and the freedom of our people. I want to appreciate you and I want to thank you for keeping fit and strong in the cause of Biafra and for making yourself available in the context of the autopilot move that we are in today. Today is Saturday, the 27th of August, 2022, and this is a special broadcast. I'll be talking critically about how democracy, in the context of fulanization is Takiyah. And you will be able to learn so many things from this broadcast, and also for those people who are clamoring to go for election in Nigeria, for them to understand that they are being used as instruments of Takiyah, and also to let you know how Peter Obi has made himself and volunteered himself as an instrument of Takiyah against Umuchineke, against Biafrans of all tribes and tongue under the Biafra nation. I want to welcome you to this live broadcast, and my name is Kelechi Ambrose, and under the auspices of Biafra Global Network, where we diverge and also make you get you informed, get you educated, and get you, to get to utilize your thinking faculty, to analyze situations and things, and also where the truth, nothing but the truth, is preached, and also where we uphold the values of human operations and values of life, and sanctity of the human race. And of course, we know that Biafra is the beginning of freedom for the Black nation, or let me not say the Black nation, because the word Black is being used as a derogatory, connotation to Africans, And so we talk about the African people to receive their freedom under the concept of global, development, global, activities and global update of human, operations and all of that. So I want to welcome you to this broadcast. My name is Kelechi Ambrose, as I told you, and I'll be taking you through the process of understanding why democracy is Takiyah in Nigeria, or the Fulani bid to conquer. Now remember that out of all the conquests, the conquest approach or desires of the Fulani, Biafra land is the most important to them, because Biafra is significant to wealth, to culture, three, to the especially the talking about demographic and geographic location and all of that, and to the wealth that is in that land. Critically, the Fulanis are the instruments or the proxy materials being used by the British to actually subjugate the people from that region, so that we'll continue to be under their servitude and will continue to be decimated until we're no more. And of course, we understand their concept and the approach to this thing. And that is why we keep preaching this way, and we keep holding on to the mandate of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the ideology of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, which he has designed under the auspices of IPOB, and which of course is in the autopilot mode at this time. I want to thank Mazi Simon Ekpa, who has kept himself strong and with the word and the promise he gave to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. He has decided and has kept to his words and has refused to allow the legacy of our leader to go down, because Chukwu or Elohim actually designed this period so that we'll be able to organize ourselves and prepare ourselves, and so that when Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is being released and coming out, he's going to be coming out to meet people who are ready to move into the land with him. And that is why we have this time, and all this while we've been doing what we're doing. I want to also, this time also, before I go into the topic of today, I still want to speak to our Niger Delta, those ones that Nigeria contraption decided to call the Niger Deltans, who are Biafrans anyways. I want to speak to our Biafrans from the riverine areas to understand that the worst thing that can happen to them is to find themselves in this mess, in this shame, this media shame that they are actually projecting right now, knowing that Tampolo and his group allow themselves to still be kept in that position of self-hate and shame, where they accept to be pipeline guards rather than taking up their mandate of taking over what belongs to them. I can't imagine that I have a wealth somewhere, or I have a property somewhere, and somebody else comes with the guise of proven to be superior to me. They decide to take and divert my wealth somewhere else where they want, and they now put me as security guard to guard over what belonged to me, and then they keep sucking what belonged to me, taking it somewhere else to their own territory where they have control over it, and then they keep me as guard. And then as a guard, also my children begin to fight me. Maybe some of my family members who are living in some other places say, we're part of this thing. This thing also belongs to us. And so they begin to fight me also to also be in charge of on behalf of the invader, on behalf of the thief are doing. And you can imagine all those militant groups coming out right now and saying that Tampot be in charge of their own area where the pipe of the wealth that belongs to them is also passing through. And they are talking about being guards rather than being lords and leaders and taking over what belongs to them. It is so unfortunate because it is critical here also, as much as it is unfortunate, that they pick up arms, and some of them have been killed in that in that same context of picking up arms, and they have been killed fighting to be security guards to what is actually theirs. It is critical because you begin to wonder how people reason, why they reason that way, and why they allow themselves to be maltreated, and allow themselves to be, manipulated, and allow themselves to be in that situation of foolish, mawkish position, fighting to the guards in their own vineyard. It is crazy, because how they reason, but not it is not far-fetched anyways to understand how they reason, because in the context of servitude, especially when you have become slaves for a long time, your parents were slaves, and then you are born into slavery. And when you are born into slavery, you find yourself in that position of servitude, and you grow up in the mentality of servitude, and you become an adult with having the faculty of a servitude, and you are educated in the doctrines of slavery. You are educated, your schooling was in the context of slavery. Your training, home training, and everything that has to do with you is in the context of slavery. And maybe you have parents too who actually, served the slave masters, with all their hearts, and gave everything that they have and died for the slave masters. And you also grow up with that mentality to think that your life will be better when you continue to be a slave. And so it has affected them so much that they actually are operating in that dimension. But that is why we're preaching. That is why we have come. We understand their situation, and so we're not angry with them. And so we're preaching to make them understand the truth so that they can come out of it and then come to the point of light where they understand that that wealth that the Fulanese and the British stealing from their land actually belong to them. And so they shouldn't be fighting for the position of securing what belonged to them for the slave masters to exploit, but they should come all out now and see that this is the opportunity where they can take what belonged to them and become masters of what belonged to them. You know that one of the problems also is that why people go after, fighting to secure or to in such kind of position, degrading position and debilitating situation, allowing themselves to be degraded and shamed in this regard, is because sometimes they have this mindset, aside the mindset of being a slave, they have this mindset of selfishness, this mindset of seeking for self rather than for all, you'll discover one thing that is prevalent with these militants in the Creek. One thing that is so common among them is that they always fight for self. Look at Asari Dokubo, the Creek guard, the one in the Creek guarding the pipeline for his slave masters, who also decided to become a Muslim because he wants to continue to enjoy the stipends and the crumbs coming from his slave masters, who are actually taking the things that belong to him. Now you discover something critical among these people is that they are always thinking of themselves. The monies that are being given by these slave masters to them actually revolve or revolves around their group, their militant group. It doesn't actually reflect in the lives of their communities. So when they guard the pipelines and when they allow themselves to become pipeline guards and stooges to these slave masters, they collect the monies and they spend it amongst themselves. They make themselves rich. The community is still poor. Their system is still poor. Their brothers and sisters in their community are still poor. And so, because of selfishness, they decide to be slaves so that they can receive crumbs and be the lords over their own people. That's why somebody like Asari will come out and begin to portray himself as a king, as a leader, as one who is in charge of the Ijaw community, as one who is the leader of the people, because they always think about self. So to glorify self above their kinsmen, they go to take crumbs from the feet of the Fulani, hegemony, who are in proxy representing the British system, who have come to enslave the people and to steal the people, to steal what belonged to the people, and to keep the people in servitude. Anyways, I'm talking to our brothers in the Creek, brothers in the Ijaw and the riverine area now. Please, you don't need to fight to be a pipeline guard. You have to come all out now to begin to look at critical things like being the leader and control of your resources. That's why I have to make this first call and appeal to them. We understand their situation, slavery, selfishness, and other things, and I have blindfolded them, but we want to make them understand that it is a shame to be in that position and allow yourself to be cowed in this current age where people are taking control of their lives. Ukraine is fighting for justice for themselves and for their nationhood, standing tall to defend their democracy and not to be under the control of Russia, and also other nations to standing tall, to stand and prove that yes, they are capable and they want to be in control of their land and what they own and what is theirs. And you in the Creek, I don't understand. You are there fighting to be slave and to continue to fight to be a pipeline guard. This is very shameful, and these are one of the things that we're talking about. But we want to make them understand that it is very shameful, and they should desist from it and join forces. Be able to have the mandate of freeing ourselves this time, because we have said there will be no election. Now let me go to the topic of today: democracy, which is an instrument of Takiyah. Most of us have not seen it in that light, but I want to explain some basic. We'll understand how democracy is an instrument in the hands of Islam or Muslims or Fulanis. Now you should understand that when it comes to general knowledge, and general operations, the Fulanis, especially the Islamic world, know how to utilize whatever is created in the realm of development and in the realm of advancement. They know how to use those things as a means of Takiyah, to mislead the people. For instance, education is said to be haram, that means forbidden, in the context of the Boko Haram and Islamic world. So what they want you to understand that if you are receiving formal education, you're actually operating in a forbidden strategy which Islam rejects and which Islam does not accept. If you want to be educated, you have to be educated in Islamic values and Islamic ways. That's what they try to make you understand. Now, if you go to the Islamic values and Islamic ways, of course, technology is not part of it. Technology is not part of Islamic values and Islamic ways. Islam believes in teaching you about Allah, and also teaching you about going to heaven, where you will have wives when you begin to kill other people who refuse to accept what belong to you. They tell you have wives, you have You have a place to, you have a mansion to yourself. You have women all around you who are serving you, who are your wives, and then you have a drink. You have enough alcohol to drink and all of that in the heaven that they promise you. So they tell you that jihad is very important, and defeating and killing the enemies and in the infidels who refuse to accept Islam is very, very, very crucial and very, very important. So in their own context of education, you have to concentrate on understanding the values of Islam and how to deal with the people who refuse to accept Islam, and how to conquer the lands and take the lands of the people and the properties of the people and take what belongs to the people. So their concept of education, which they said is haram, is that you don't need to learn the ways of the Western world. You don't need to learn technology and all these their ways. But yet they have their few who go to learn some of these things and learn about technology, and they use the weapons, the weapons of these Western worlds. They use the rocket launchers, they use the RPGs, they use the AK-47, the 47s, they use the armor tanks, they use the vehicles, they use the computers, the laptops and all of that, the technological world and all of that that is built under the technology. They use these things against you. They tell you that you don't need to go to learn the ways of the education of the West, and yet they learn these things and they use it as a means of propagating and pushing forth their Islamic agenda. Why do they want you to remain Islamic? Because they want you to remain in the context of thinking that education resides only in the realm of understanding what they want you to understand under the context of religion, rather than understanding how to build your world. And so they tell you shouldn't go, because they know that when you go into Western education, your mindset will be elaborated. You'll begin to think freely. Your freedom will become very conspicuous in your eyes, and you will not be thinking of being under a kind of directive that is so religious that makes you think one way. Now, why do they do this? Now, this is because in the values of Islamic oppression, democracy is not part of it. It's strange. Democracy is foreign to Islamic values. Democracy is not part of Islamic values. In fact, when you go to the Islamic world, you discover that their way of operation is actually not democratic. They make sure that you are subjugated and kept in a pattern of oppression. They direct your affairs and they direct your life. Operation. Sharia system is not a democratic constitution or democratic precept of operation. Sharia system is only constitutes the values of religious operations. And under the concept of their religious operation, you don't have a right, you don't have a say, you don't have your freedom. You cannot do what you like. You must do what the Sharia says, and which is of course tantamount to what the Quran says. So democracy, in the first thing you have to understand about why democracy is a Takiyah, and how I'm going to explain that, how democracy is Takiyah. I'm going to explain it briefly, but I want to set the template so that you will understand it. You'll see that the things that are written in a Sharia constitution don't have any place in democratic ways. If you check the democratic constitution and check the Sharia constitution, you'll discover that these are two different things. That is why in a place like Nigeria, it is going to be very horrible. It is going to be very shameful to find intellectuals, people who say they are intellectuals, and people who say they are professors, and people who say they are learned, to think that the Nigeria contraption can stay when there are two principles or two standards of operation in one constitution, the secular constitution and then the Sharia constitution. And they are bringing two separate, strange constitution together to be under one country called Nigeria. And you begin to wonder how these people who say they are professionals, these people who say they are intelligent, these people who say they are intellectuals, could say that they want Nigeria to continue, even when the truth is that there are two standards being operated under the guise of Nigeria. How can you have two kinds of constitution and you think that you are going to survive as a people? And you say you're intelligent? That is strange. Now I'm going to explain further. Now, Sharia is undemocratic. Sharia does not consider you as having a right. Sharia does not consider you as having a life. It actually puts you in the position of believing and only being directed by the Quran and the principles of the Quran, which means that you are actually under a religious doctrine that direct and that determines what is right for you and what is not right for you, which means that if you as a lady want to put on jeans, jeans trouser for instance, and walk around, you are going against a religious belief which of course is being upheld through a constitutional process called Sharia. Now, in that context of Sharia, that is where your punishment lies, even if the root of that Sharia is the Quran. So you as a lady, now you can't move around, you having your beautiful hair moving around. You have to cover your face and wear a mask or something that covers you. And even you as a woman, you can't move around to go to shop or to go somewhere around, alone. They want you to go with a man, or you as a young lady, they can decide to marry you off as a child, and you don't have a will of your own. When they see lust after you, they can take you and say you are their wife. They can sell you out and all of that. You are being governed by a system which is undemocratic. So in the first instance, we must understand that democracy itself is strange to Islamic values. So let's bring it to the context of Nigeria. Now, in 1904, we saw the Islamic world coming into the territory of the Hausas. Of course, the Hausas actually, at that point in time, some of them have accepted Islam. Even the Yoruba land, of course, some of them have accepted Islam, But the Fulanis, because they wanted to conquer and take over the values and the lands of the people, what they did was to come in and make the people feel like they are making the people have a choice of believing strongly in the laws of Sharia and in the laws of Allah. So they make the people see their own people as people who have gone against the laws of God. And then the people begin to think that they are very corrupt, that their leaders are very corrupt, that the Fulanis are true believers of Islam. And so they blindfold them with the concept of religion. And then they begin to take over their land. They kill their men. They fought against their rulers and their leaders. And then they took over, and then they established the Fulani Caliphate. Of course, we all know the story, how they took over the lands of the Hausas, and then they instituted the Fulani Caliphate. And the institution of the Fulani Caliphate, of course, we know that whoever is appointed, the person who is appointed is an emir who takes over and who becomes the supreme leader. So when people are appointed in various places to take over the villages as village heads, as other names they call them, in the community, they are subject to the Fulani Caliphate. The Sultan becomes their final head. The Sultan becomes the one who appoints. The Sultan becomes the one who sacks. The Sultan becomes the one who orders. The Sultan becomes the one who takes, gives orders and says whatever he says goes. And he becomes the supreme head, where the people cannot argue his judgment. The people cannot argue what he says. The people cannot go against whatever he says. So he becomes the supreme totalitarian head of the Fulani Caliphate. Now, that tells you that there is no democracy in that concept. Now, when they came to the concept of Nigeria, and the British came, and the British discovered that these people have a strong base of control, the British felt that they needed to partner with their strong base of control. Because if the Sultan controls them using religion, then it is very easy for them to control the Sultan using the concept of what they actually can offer to the Sultan. And what is that concept? Nigeria, being the wealth and the business structure of Britain, they all needed to commit it into the hands of the Sultan, who will be enjoying the benefits. And at the same time, because he's enjoying the benefits, he will allow Britain to plunder and take what they want. So Britain gives them access to corruption. And then they take up that corruption, and then they have to allow things to happen for the benefit of the British. So the British knows that they will not need to fight the people, since the people will take orders from the Sultan. That's as easy as it is. Since the people believe strongly that if the Sultan says, kill this one, that person is dead. They don't need to question it. If the Sultan says, take this, give this to this, take that, give that to that, it is final. It must not be questions, because it is the words of Allah and the words of the gods. Then if the Sultan can have that kind of supreme power to lay hold on the people and to lay grip on the people, then it simply is as easy as allowing the Sultan to be in control of the region called Nigeria, so that the Sultan can control the processes and the British can have it easy without any questioning, because the people will listen to the Sultan. Now, how does this work now? How does this affect us generally? That is why the fulanization program is very potent. That is why they want to set their emirs all over Biafra land. That is why they want to set their emirs all over the West. You know why? When the emirs are set, they have control over the people, and the emirs are dedicated to the Sultan. So whatever the emirs say to the Sultan accepts and takes. And since the emir controls these areas through, since the Sultan controls these areas through the emirs, automatically there will be no need for them to talk about democratic precepts and all of that. All they need to do is give their words, and their words go, and the people are subjugated. And of course, the people will just naturally carry it out. And then it is easier for the British to continue their rule using the Fulani Caliphate as proxy. So it was easy. That is why they decided to give that mandate to the Sultan to control the territory of Nigeria, and also to give him the mandate to carry out the jihad. And they are supporting him indirectly. That is why when the British leaders and political leaders come into the contraption called Nigeria, the first place they go to is the Sultan. The first place they go to is the North, because the North, the Sultan of Sokoto, is actually the head of Nigeria, based on their agreement, based on their plans, based on their precepts. So the truth here is that Nigeria is actually not in a democracy. What they did is this: as a Takiyah, as an instrument of Takiyah, because I told you the other time, yesterday when I was making a broadcast, I said it is very easy, in the sense or in this way. Now, since Nigeria is also in a country which is designed by Britain, they must make you believe that Nigeria should be a democratic system, because Britain obeys and accepts democracy as the fundamental process of rulership all over the nations of the world. Of course, the world and the globe accepts democracy as the most important of all about the people, because if the people are speaking, they are going to only speak through democracy, because it is their will that should stand. So Britain now, knowing that democracy is very, very key to the world and to the heart of the world, Britain does not need to go against democratic principles in the context when it comes to Nigeria. But all they needed to do is to see how they can make it look like there's a democracy in the system of Nigeria, so that the people, the world, can believe that there's a system of democracy in Nigeria, so that whatever is being done, it will not be done like they are being done outside democracy. So what they did is this: they know that already they gave the leadership and the rulership of Nigeria to the Sultan of Sokoto. Of course, that is it. So the Sultan of Sokoto is actually the supreme ruler of the Nigeria system. So now they have already instituted Nigeria in the Islamic world. Of course, the OIC registered under the Islamic world. So they are part of the League of the Islamic Nations that are in the world and in Africa. And of course, part of the plan of the Abuja Declaration, so that they can reach out to all Africa and make sure that Africa is conquered and become a Fulani Caliphate. Why is Britain allowing Fulanis to be in control? One, the Fulanis have a way, the Fulanis have a way of obeying and listening to only one person, which is the Sultan. So if the Sultan is in control and can control people, then simply means that if they allow the Sultan control all of Nigeria, it will be easy for them also to have control of the oil and the resources, because the people will always listen to the Sultan. So all they need, is to allow the Sultan and his people to send their terrorists into the communities and subjugate the people and take over those places and take over those communities. Because when the Fulanis are in control in every territory, in every community in Nigeria, it is subject to the Sokoto Caliphate. Which means that whatever the Sokoto Caliphate says in those areas, the Fulanis will naturally carry it out, and the indigenous people will be quiet, because they are actually being killed. If they talk, they are going to be killed. If they act, they are going to be killed. If they move, they are going to be killed. If they reject, they are going to be killed. If they disagree, they are going to be killed. So the best way for the British is to allow the Fulanis overrun the territories and the communities. Now, they do it in this way. They pretend that there's a democracy. So what they do is that they make sure that there's always a 4-year election holding in the territories or in the Nigeria. So what that means is this: they make the world see it as if there's a democracy in Nigeria, so that the world will think that since there's democracy, of course, democracy means that every time there must be election. That's what democracy is all about. There's election. If you go to the constitution, Britain knows that the constitution is not a democratic constitution. They know that the government of Nigeria has this. You cannot sue them for not giving you your right, because in the constitution there, even section 6 there provides it, and other parts of the constitution provides it. That you cannot hold the government for not doing what they're supposed to do for you. So they know that the constitution is not democratic, but they want the world to feel like there's democracy in the system. So they make sure they enforce a 4-year democracy. Every 4 years there's election. They want the election to hold, come rain, come shine. Because when the election holds, it is portrayed to the world that these people are actually a democratic system or a democratic nation. That's what they want to portray. Because if the election does not hold, the people will not, nations of the world will not accept and recommend the government. America will not accept and recommend the government. They will not accept and recommend the government because there was no election. The only way you can talk about democracy is when there is election. That is how they see it. So when people go around and elect somebody, they now make it look like, yes, there's democracy. But we know that in Nigeria, there's no democracy. The election don't count. What they do is that they choose who they want. And when they choose you, they manipulate the system to make sure that no matter who you vote for, that system will count that person that is chosen by the Fulani Caliphate and the Sokoto Caliphate, headed by the Sultan, who decides who should rule. So when they do that election, all they do is that they want the world. It's like doing, this they call it boo-boo. In our local slangs, say they don't boo-boo them, they don't deceive them. That is what Takiyah is. Election is Takiyah in disguise to prove that there is democracy in Nigeria. Election becomes the Takiyah. So they present, that is why you see that they do anything to make sure that elections will hold. They do anything that will make election not hold, they fight it. Have you seen recently that helicopters are already hovering around the southeast because they know we are resolved and we are resolute that there will be no election in Biafra land? Helicopters are not hovering around Sambisa Forest. The helicopters are not hovering around Kaduna, where almost the whole local government have been taken over by the terrorists. It is not helicopters are not hovering all over those places. They are not bombarding those places. Now, let's say it now. Do you know, right now as I'm talking to you, that in Nigeria, over 40 communities, local governments, have been taken over by the terrorists? Over 40 communities today are in the hands of the terrorists, and they have appointed their own government, a parallel government, to lead, to direct, to rule, to subjugate, collect taxes. They are taxing the people. They can't go to their farms without paying. They can't do anything without paying. If you fight against them, they kill you. If you don't accept Islam, they kill you. You must confess that you are now Islamic. They tax you. And these over 40 communities are actually Christian communities that have been taken over all over Nigeria, including in Imo State, Ebonyi State. These communities are terrorized by the Fulanis, and they have raised their proxy leadership in those communities. Now, let me ask you a question, a vital question that I want you to ask yourself. Why is it that the Caliphate or the Sultan of Sokoto is not saying anything about the Fulanis that are coming with AK-47 into the country to kill? Why is it that the Sultan of Sokoto is not saying about saying anything about the influx of these Fulani killers into the Nigeria contraption. Why is it that the Sultan of Sokoto is not making any statement condemning or saying anything? In fact, in spite of the fact that daily people are being killed, in spite of the fact that daily people are being maimed, why is it that the Fulani Caliphate, the Sultan of Sokoto, is not making any statement? In spite of the fact that the Sultan of Sokoto is the supreme leader of these people and they listen to him anytime. If he tells them to stop, they'll stop. If he tells them to start, they'll start. He is their author and their finisher. He's their author and their finisher. So how come, don't you ask yourself that question, how come that in this case of trying to override the communities and the indigenous people in their lands, how come that his words is not potent? How come they don't actually say anything about it? How come he doesn't have the power to tell them to stop in this regard? But in anything, if he tells them now that somebody has committed blasphemy, they should kill the person. Now, they don't even care to know what the person have done. They will kill the person. But now he doesn't have the power to tell them not to come to your community to kill or to take over your community. How come it doesn't work? How come it's not working? Simple, because it is part of the program. Nigeria is not a democracy. Nigeria is an autocracy. Nigeria is in the hands of a totalitarian system, which is the Fulani Caliphate. And the reason why the British system or the British government is permitting that totalitarian system is because when we all become subjugated and become people under the control of the Fulani, we will not have a say they are taking oil, whether they are not taking oil, whether we are doing this, whether they are doing that. We will not have a say of what we want. We will only depend on the Sokoto Caliphate to determine whatever we want and what happens in our community. At that point in time, we are subjugated because they have put guns in our heads. We cannot do anything again. They have instituted their emirs and all of that in our communities. They have instituted their traditional leaders, rulers. I call them rulers. They have instituted all the people they want to take control. They put their militias everywhere to control your land and all of that. And then automatically you are under the control of the Caliphate. And of course, the Caliphate will always respond to the dictates of the British. So the British see it as a very good idea, because if they come to Biafra, we always want to deal with them in business. In the business level, if we have Biafra today, if they want to deal with us or if they want to discuss with us on any matter, we will discuss on that level of mutual benefit. But now, because they don't want it to benefit you and they want to get it by force, they use the Fulani Caliphate. That is why even if the Fulanis didn't accept Christianity that they brought, they still embrace the Fulanis and trust them more than you. That is why you saw the write-up of Lord Lugard, when he wrote to the Fulani Caliphate, to the Sultan, and the Sultan stood firmly and resisted him. That was the point that they knew that the Fulanis are very, very important instrument and very, very vital tool, key to their fundamental control of Nigeria. So when they brought the idea of the Osman Dan Fodio conquest, trying to expand and move it straight to our land and to conquer us, they embraced it. Britain embraced it because it is to their good. It is to their liking. So what they did now is to make it look like there's a democracy, even if we know that the control has been given to the Fulani or to the Sultan of Sokoto. The British have given the control to the Sultan of Sokoto, but they now institute a concept to look as if we are the ones electing the people who are going to lead us. And if you go to everywhere the Fulanis are in control, the emir appoints, or the sultan appoints the people who control those localities. Go to the places, the over 40 communities that the Fulanis have conquered. It is the sultan that determines who rules those communities. He approves of it. He's the one who determines it. So what they did now is to make it look like there's a democracy. So we're going to be going for election. We're going to be voting people. When we vote them, then the vote of the people count. They want to mislead the world and made the world believe that there is a control, that the people are actually determining what they do. The people are actually determining who leads them and all of that. So democracy becomes a Takiyah. They are coming after us. They are coming to take our lands. They are taking what belongs to us, and they are fronting democracy in the face of the world, so that the world will be looking at it as if what is happening is democratic. Because in democracy, when you choose your leaders, Whatever they do after, it is your business. The world will not, it's not, the world will say it's internal issues. You people should handle it. It is your internal issues. If they are stealing from your coffers, it is your issues. You people elected them, so why not handle them yourself? Why are you calling us? That is why you see United Nations will sit back and relax. In spite of the killings in Nigeria, they are not making moves. In spite of the killings, the United States is not making moves. In spite of the killings, the nations of the world are not making moves because they believe that you that elected them in, you should know what to do. You elected these people and you should know what to do about it. You should know what to do about the situation. So that is how democracy becomes a takiyah. And what is the sign or evidence of democracy? The evidence of democracy is election. That is why you see that now they are doing everything to make sure that the election will hold. It's as simple. In the face of the world, when you go for election, you have already expressed your power. That approval you give to a government for another 4 years is the power of expression. When you express that power, they automatically say it that you have already said that this is what you want. So when you say this is what you want, sorry, please, sorry for that. When you say this is what you want, you already have given the power to these people to rule you. And so they know that for the world to support what is going on as they take over your land, as the British allow the Fulanis to conquer you, for the world to accept and to look elsewhere, they need that election to happen. If the election does not happen, the world will look in and say, these people didn't elect anybody. So you cannot force anything on them. These people rejected election. That means they are against this. There's something else they want to. We have to look at what they want. They know the world will begin to question, because as soon as the people say we are not part of the election, automatically the world will have their satellite on the people. Automatically the world will look at the people. Automatically the world will now take it as a serious matter. But when you now go to the polls to elect, to say, I am endorsing, I am electing these people or this person, the world automatically believes that you have decided. And once you have decided, then it is your cup of tea. So whatever happens is your internal wrangling. You people should deal with it and handle it. That is why Britain wants election to hold by all means. That is why they are advising the Fulanis to move more tanks into Biafra land. That is why they are making sure that they keep Mazin Nnamdi Kanu in detention, so that he doesn't come out and move the people's mind away from the election. That is why they want to hold him until the election is over before they release him. That is why they are forcing Peter Obi on you, to make it look like they have given you an opportunity to vote somebody who is yours, who is from your region. That is why they are making it look like a Biafran is contesting, so you can vote for him. After all, he's a Biafran. Because they want election to hold. They know that the Fulani Caliphate is in control, but they use the issue of election, which is an instrument of democracy, as Takiyah. Takiyah means to tell lies. They want to tell lies. They want it to look like they are actually doing democratic activities, to look like you are actually voting and making things happen. They want it to look like you are the one to have your leaders. They want it to make it to look like you are your fate together. So democracy becomes that they use it as an instrument, fronting it before your eyes. But the truth is that you don't have a leader. The leader you have is the Fulani Caliphate, the Sultan of Sokoto. So when he picks somebody like Atiku and puts that for you to vote, he's actually putting, in the sense of modern democracy and all of that, Atiku is there, but it is not Atiku that is your leader. Atiku takes orders from the Sultan of Sokoto, because he's a servant to the Sultan. Anybody who comes there is a servant to the Sultan. The true leader or the true ruler of the Nigeria contraption is the Sultan. Any other person who is being paraded as a democratic and somebody under democracy they are paraded is only an instrument of Takiyah, which they want to use in deceiving you to think that you are actually voting somebody to be your leader. Don't you know that Britain has already given the power to the Fulanis? If Britain has given the powers to the Fulanis, how come you are thinking that you are the one appointing people or voting people into positions to rule you? No, you're not, because the power has already been given to them. That is why you see that all the elections that happen, everything that happens favors the Fulanis. Don't you understand it? Because it is a Takiyah. Democracy is a Takiyah. They want the world to make it look like it is you that is deciding. but the British has already decided. So when they now called Peter Obi to Britain to discuss with him, they made him understand the true position of things. They made him understand that his position there is just to make and manipulate Biafrans, to forget Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, to forget the one Elohim has commanded to preach the word of freedom and get the people to free themselves from the shackles of slavery. They now they now bring him forward, putting Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in dungeon. Britain not talking about it, Britain keeping quiet, even if he's a citizen, they decide to keep quiet. They don't want to mention it. They don't mention it at all in everything they do. You know why? They want Biafrans to forget that issue. They want you to concentrate on election. So they put Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in detention and they bring Peter Obi in front to make you look like they want you to have a chance in voting him in, so that it will be like you are now the one ruling through Peter Obi. Whereas the power, the original power, is in the hands of the Sultan of Sokoto. That is why the Fulani militias are marching into your forest, marching everywhere. Nobody is talking. Britain is not talking. They are not saying anything. The Sultan, who has power to tell them to stop, is not saying anything because they are already in control. And because the British want your land to be taken over so that they will find it easy to control your resources. Because if the Fulani is in control and the Sultan is totally in control, he can institute, he can direct, he can, influence, he can, overwhelm you, and he can determine what happens in your land. So democracy is an instrument of Takiyah. Democracy is actually not democracy in Nigeria. In Nigeria, democracy is an instrument of lies. The true people whom the British have given control of the land is the Fulanis. So if you are there jumping around, jubilating that we are going to elect, we have the power belongs to the people, we are going to election, we are going to vote who we want, you are deceiving yourself, because you are only being manipulated with the Takiyah of democracy. The Fulanis don't believe in democracy. As soon as they overrun you, which they are using the elections to buy time. As soon as they overrun you, they are going to impose the Fulani structure in your place. So even if they keep using the democracy as Takiyah, they are only going to be using it as Takiyah to make the world look like it is an election. The people are voting who they want. But the people whom they appoint for you to vote are the people whom they have chosen already. They have anointed to enforce their wicked rule, to enforce their dictates, to enforce what they want over you. So if you think that democracy is, you're right, you are in Nigeria, under Nigeria, you have a right, you are lying to yourself. The only way your democracy will be effective is when you have control of your land, when you have control of your place, when you have control of where you are, when you have control of who you are, when you have control of your territory. And that is when you now decide that whoever we are voting for is somebody from our territory and we have control. And you have been able to, and what is that control? The control is laid in your constitution. By the time we have Biafra now, we have a constitution that is originally from the people, that actually takes the interest of the people in heart. The 1999 constitution does not have your interest. Does not have your interest. Go to chapter 2, you see where they align so many things that has to do, with what you is your benefits. Then you go to chapter 6, you now see where they say that that thing that they have aligned to you, does not actually, go to section 6, sorry, you find out that what they actually aligned is not what is they are obliged to give to you. If they don't give it to you, you cannot hold them responsible. You cannot hold them responsible. You can't even sue them and win in court that the government actually promised you this and they didn't fulfill it, because the constitution tells you, deceives you. It's a Takiyah. That constitution is also a Takiyah, an instrument that is called democratic, but a Takiyah to mislead and to direct. But when we have our nation as Biafra, the constitution will be well laid out in the precepts of democracy. So when we are asking for our freedom, when we are asking for Biafra, we know what we're saying. We're asking for true freedom. We're asking for true democracy. Under the Nigeria contraption, you are not in democracy, because the people who are controlling you are the Fulani Caliphates. The British have given them control. So they are actually working the program of the Caliphate of Sharia. Sharia is not a democratic document. So if the Fulani Caliphate is the one ruling, if the Fulani Caliphate is in charge of your domain given to you by the British to control and rule you, then it simply means that your Sharia, which is the document which is actually being used to rule you, is not democratic, because the Fulanis are not democratic. The imposition of this Fulani Caliphate or the Sultan of Sokoto as the sole leader of Nigeria, does only mean that it is not democratic, because in democracy you cannot keep the Fulani as the control. So now Peter Obi was now called into to Britain, and he was now told what to do. He has to play the games. He now submitted himself in spite of the fact that he knows that Biafrans want their freedom. He knows that what we're asking is freedom and nothing but freedom. But yet he is going against the precepts of the people and demanding to continue, and to continue in the concept of the Nigeria contraption, which has expired. He now decides to let himself to be used as an instrument against the will of the people. Whereas we know that in Nigeria, democracy is not evident. The constitution is not a democratic constitution. That makes the issue of democracy in Nigeria null and void. 2, the Fulani Caliphate or the Sultan of Sokoto cannot be a democrat if he is the one who has been programmed and imposed on the people by the British government to rule the people. He rules the people using the proxy of a democracy, which is a Takiyah. So they come to you every time, they tell you to come and vote somebody, whereas the person who is controlling that person that you want to vote is the Caliphate. Then how do you call that how do you call that a democracy? It is an instrument of Takiyah. They want the world to think that there is democracy, so they hold elections. And of course, when you hold elections, the world will believe that there is democracy. So when whatever happens after that, even the fact that the regime of Buhari, the late Buhari, is still in control, they are killing and maiming. People are hearing of the killing all over the world, hearing of the killings and all of that. Nobody's talking. You know why they're not talking? They believe that as a democratic state or as a democratic nation, you should know how to handle your affairs. They will only tell they will only say it in their news, so number of people have been killed here, but they can't do anything about it. But just observe it. As soon as election is stopped from holding, you will discover that the world will now look in. The world will now want to know what is happening, because they know that democracy has come down, has been brought down. So they want to know what is happening. That is when you will now see that the world actually can fight for you. But when you allow election to hold, you have allowed that Takiyah to continue. That is what we are saying. We have to stop this Takiyah under the guise of election in the name of democracy. We have to stop the Takiyah. The Fulanis are using our people as Takiyah against us. They are using our people as Takiyah against us. So when you allow yourself to dance in the tune of the Fulanis by thinking that you are electing somebody, that person that they are the ones who are appointed. They appointed Peter Obi. They appointed Atiku. They appointed Shetima and Co. They appointed Tinubu. They appointed all of them. They front them before you. Any of them that is picked is working for their interest. But the truth about it is that they always want an Islamic person to be there, because they cannot go against that agreement. They can't go against that agreement of the Abuja Declaration of 1989. They can't go against it. So whatever, that is why they are in a hurry to make sure that they conquer your community, so that they can install emirs around. When they install emirs, they will have their foot soldiers around, where you will not have a voice. You will not be able to talk against them. So when every time in that federal position, that's the Abuja side, they will be having a Fulani, an Islamic person, a Muslim to be in charge. And then in the government agencies, all the government strongholds, all the government parastatals, all the government agencies and all of that will be controlled, and the military and the force will be controlled by the Fulanis and by the Muslims. So you should understand that this election you are going for and you are fighting for and you want to have is actually an instrument of Takiyah. It is an instrument to deceive the world and deceive you to believe that you are in democracy. If you don't believe it, as long as you think that you are a Nigerian, you are being ruled by the Sultan of Sokoto and the Sharia. You are not democratic. You are not a democratic state. You are not voting for who you want. You are voting for those they have appointed. So democracy in the context of Nigeria is an instrument of Takiyah. And you are a subject. You are a subject. Tell all those people who are saying they are one Nigerianists, tell them that they are ignorant. As long as you conduct election under Nigeria, you are only validating the Fulani control over you. It is not democracy. Every of the people they are fronting before you, they control. The Sultan controls. All of them have gone to the Sultan to receive their blessings before they came to you. They have gone to the Sultan and the Caliphates, those people who make up the Caliphates, like IBB and the panel, under that Caliphate. They have gone to all of them to pay their obeisance, to get their blessings before coming to you. Is it Peter Obi? Peter Obi has gone to do his own. He has paid his obeisance. You saw him the other time with IBB. He goes to the Sultan. He receives the blessings because you know why? They are the ones who are ruling, not Peter Obi, not Atiku or anybody. Those ones are just their stooges. So that in the realm of the concept of democracy, they say, okay, they have a democratic leader. But that person was actually appointed by the Sultan, who is actually the supreme controller. So you see, democracy is Takiyah. So the democracy that you think you have is actually Takiyah. It's actually not true. So the only way you can have a true system and a true structure is when you decide to break this concept, this contraption, destroy it, and destroy the constitution, destroy the connection. Let's have a referendum and decide that we want to be where we want to be. By the time we decide that, we'll now write a constitution that carries true democratic values, the principles of justice, and the operational values of democracy. And then that is when you talk about democracy that is true. But for now, you are in a Takiyah. You have been misdirected, you have been misled, you have been lied to. You are being controlled by the Sultan of Sokoto. You are not in a democracy. Those people that they have appointed for elections are only going to be used as an instrument to deceive you and mislead you and to make the world think that you have democracy, so that the world will be looking away from the things you are going through. As they come forward, as they advance to conquer you, the world will look away. As they keep doing what they are doing, the world will look away. The word is enough for the wise. You have to understand it right now and know that we have to destroy this to know why we are saying no election. The reason why we are saying no election is because we want to stop this from going forth. We want to stop this from continuing. We want to stop this Takiyah, because they use every instrument against us, including what we believe in so much, which is election and democracy. They use it against us so as to mislead us and to deceive us. But we understand better, and we know that this Takiyah, we are smarter than them. Everywhere they come, Britain has embraced them. Britain is in support of them. But we know that we are going to get our freedom. And so that is why we have declared no election in Biafra land. And we shall defend that cause. And by 2023, we shall declare Biafra. And we shall get into our land and shall rule and lead ourselves into abundance, into true freedom, and into complete development that will override what is in the world. That the world will marvel and the people will know that of a truth, these people are divinely designed to succeed. They have held our shine for a long time, but we're out now to take what belongs to us. Thank you so much for joining me in this broadcast. Tomorrow I'm going to come up with another topic. Please share this video far and wide so that people can hear the truth and know more, so that our people will know what is happening around them. And also, please subscribe to this channel so that we'll be able to update you at all times, and also so that we'll be encouraged to do more to prove that, yes, you appreciate what we are doing and the work we are doing and the teachings we are offering from this point. Thank you so much. Today is the fundraising. Please join in the fundraising and see to it that you are part of raising the funds for the security of our people. Eastern Security Network needs the funds, and also to get the arms to protect ourselves, to get the arms and ammunition and all of that to protect ourselves. We need to protect our land. We need to protect our children. We need to protect our wives. We need to protect our husbands. We need to protect everything that concerns us. They are coming with their armor tanks and all of that, killing, but we need to defend ourselves. As our leader will always say, they will kill us and we will kill them. In the end, Biafra will come. And how are we going to kill them? For somebody who is coming with AK-47, to kill that person, you need AK-47. You need even more sophisticated weapon that is beyond his own to kill him. So when our leader was saying that we'll kill them, they'll kill us and we'll kill them, he actually says we'll also get the same weapons that is strong, sophisticated enough to deal with them. Because if we want to go by bare hands, we'll not be able to kill them. We need weapons also to deal with them. That is when we'll be able to kill them. So our leader has already instituted that, and you have to understand that in the context of the autopilot operations. I will explain to us better the concept of autopilot operations so that you will know how it works effectively. Thank you so much for joining me. And my name is Kelechi Ambrose. Please share this video far and wide, and also please subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much.